What do you make of the steward's decision to uphold the protest?
Well, we're still trying to digest it, and I think we need to ask some questions and get further clarification. But it's a bit disappointing. We thought we were well within the rules and did absolutely nothing wrong. We now have to discuss with the FIA what's going to happen going forward. We can't change brake ducts. We can't unlearn what we've learned. My belief is, from reading the document, this is the end of it, and then we just have to decide what to do.
My take is that it's very complex. The interpretation of the regulations of the stewards is very different to the interpretation that Racing Point had.
We'll need to analyze, and I think we've got some times at least to decide what's the further action on our side.
It's at least 50% happy because first and foremost, and which probably matters the most, it's clear to everyone what's been going on, the passing on of information, the passing on of parts, the confirmation that there is a breach of parking regulations. Those things matter a lot to me.
We all thought it was pretty difficult to take photography and replicate a race car as well as they did. That, according to the evidence, is not the truthful answer. We now see that it's not been done exclusively by photography. I think it's unfortunate for the fans. It's very confusing that the technical rules and the sporting rules don't necessarily align, and that you've got a car that was fined and docked points in Austria as an illegal car is now legal and allowed to race at the British Grand Prix. That kind of doesn't make any sense to the fans, let alone people in the paddock.
We can't have a financial compensation for a sporting advantage, for sure.
You know, as a team that has always been very proud to protect the DNA of this sport, we're a firm believer that list of listed parts should be protected, and teams should be manufacturing and designing the performance-related parts on their race cars. That's what differentiates teams. That's what makes teams successful in this sport, and so we must do everything that we can to protect it.
Whatever the other teams think, that was legal. There is no doubt about that. Maybe it was a loophole, and in Formula One it's all about exploiting legal loopholes, or it wasn't, and then they would lose the appeal in front of the court. But I don't, if somebody is unhappy, I think a rear brake duct hasn't progressed Racing Point from 10th on the grid to 6th on the grid.
You know, I think this is the tip of the iceberg. This just happens to be found on the brake ducts, but when they've told us that they did this all through photography and it comes out they haven't, you've got to question what else in that car is against the sporting or technical rules. And that's why I think it needs to be looked at much further. I think Formula One's always had loopholes. These engineers are very smart, so I think what's important is you learn from them, you react quickly, close them, but there'll always be the next one that pops up. That's Formula One.
It set a dangerous precedent, but I guess it's the FIA, also up to the FIA to measure what they're doing and the consequence of their decision, the consequence of the sanction they impose. You know, sanctions are here to do two things. They're here to try and create a remedy to an action, but also to prevent this action to be repeated again. So, you know, I can't really qualify whether the remedy is appropriate, but as to whether it's a deterrent for future, it's an open question that probably this one we will focus on right now to decide whether we want to appeal or not of the sanction. Not on the decision, but on the sanction.